Hey guys, welcome to the second video series of my weekly Q&A that I've got going on. First, want to thank everyone who watched last week's episode. I really appreciate it for one. Secondly, everyone who gave me feedback or follow-up questions. Also, I really appreciated it. Can be pretty intimidating videoing yourself and then posting it for the world to see because one, I don't really want to do anything awkward or stupid, and then I also don't want to be made fun of for it. So hopefully I didn't do anything too embarrassing. I mean, I'm pretty used to embarrassing myself at the gym on a regular basis, so doing it for the world probably isn't that much different. I got a lot of feedback and a lot of questions for this week, so I'm not going to ramble on. I did upgrade to like hands-free video, which is really exciting. I'm using my tissue box, so I had to take all my tissues out, and I can prop my phone against it, so that's really exciting. Maybe next time I'll have like a phone, little apparatus to hold my phone so I can video myself. If only I knew someone who could make really cool things for me like that. Who knows? Maybe I'll also have a nice backdrop for like my logo or something like that. All things in the works. So, without further ado, let's get to the questions. First question is what are the types of food that I can get to have the best bang for my buck? So it's kind of similar to last week's question about how to eat on a budget, but now I'll kind of go a little bit into more specific foods. Buying in bulk is going to be the best bang for your buck no matter what. So yes, there's the fancy packages of little single servings of rice. They're convenient, but they're going to cost a little bit more. So you do unfortunately have to make the decision. Do you want to be convenient or do you want to be cost effective? If you really want to be convenient, then you're going to have to spend a little bit more money based on those conveniences. So like you can get pre-packaged turkey burgers or salmon burgers or regular burgers. You can get all that at the store. They're not too expensive, but they do cost a little bit more than if you were to like go and get a pound of ground turkey and then roll it yourself, cook it yourself. It is going to cost a little bit more to do that. Same thing with rice. If you go and buy like a 2-pound bag of rice, that's going to last you forever and be pretty cheap compared to speaking if you got the same quantity of like rice but in those single individual packets. So the first thing is really going to be buying in bulk. Same thing with like protein. If you can buy like 2-pound servings of meat or something. So I know at like the grocery store here, even at Whole Foods, I can get like chicken or even just any type of meat pretty cheap if I just go and find like a pre-packaged like 2-pound portion of it. It's going to be a lot cheaper than if I'm getting like single servings of stuff or like pre-made like protein chicken strips or something like that. It is going to cost a bit more if it's already processed and handled or cooked for you. So be aware of that. Another thing is kind of going on with the convenience thing. So I actually went to the grocery store this past Sunday and I was looking for chicken thighs and I had a coupon for a different grocery store, so I wasn't really used to being in this store, and I found a pound of chicken thighs, which I like to put in my like stewy type meals because it tastes way better than chicken breast. I found them for like $5 a pound, which if you shop regularly for like protein, $5 a pound for meat is pretty good of a price. And it was organic, like it was pasture raised, organic. And so I kept looking for like, what is the caveat? I had no idea, but it was cheaper. It was chicken thighs. They looked fine. It was a pound. I was like, maybe it's only like a half a pound. I think it was actually a pound and a half for $5. And I got home, I realized the bone was still in the chicken thighs. So before I cooked whatever it was that I was making, I had to cut up the chicken to get the bone out, or I could have cooked it with the chicken and then just taken the chicken out and dealt with the bone. I just cut the chicken off the bone and put it in the Instant Pot for the burrito bowls that I was making. So really, if you can get like pretty basic staples in a large proportion, you're going to be really good off on getting a ton of food in. Same thing, like, yeah, frozen vegetables are great. frozen other stuff is going to be really good for you. But if you can just go really basic, go to the grocery aisle, go get like a bag of broccoli, you're going to be able to get a lot more broccoli than if you were to get like a frozen bag. Like a frozen bag for me lasts like twice, whereas if I can get like a huge bag of broccoli and cut it up and cook it as I go throughout the week, it's going to last me a lot longer. So really just, it's going to be a little bit more work for you, but it is going to save you a lot of money in that sense. Also in terms of eating types of food, so get really nutrient dense foods that lets you reach your goal and fill you up throughout the day, but it's not like you're constantly having to make or eat a ton of food. So if you're trying to get vegetables and you're choosing between like Brussels sprouts and broccoli, it is going to take a lot more broccoli servings to equal the Brussels sprouts. So it's going to behoove you to actually eat Brussels sprouts that's way more nutritious, or not nutritious, but way more filling, has a lot more carbohydrates in them compared to broccoli. Same thing like sweet potatoes, butternut squash, all of those are way more filling than some others, things like broccoli. That's not saying don't eat broccoli, because I definitely recommend broccoli, kale, everything like that. Get a good portion of that, but then also bring in some other things, like mix it up a little bit. Don't just eat chicken, rice, and broccoli, because that is going to add up. You're going to have to get a lot of broccoli and rice to make your goals work. So that's kind of the best bang for your buck foods. Basically just basic stuff. If you struggle, like, and also with convenience, sometimes you can get pretty cheap canned foods as well. I sometimes do that. I can get like sweet peas for like 89 cents. So if you're at that point and you can get like 2 or 3 servings for less than $1, definitely do that. Make sure you're just going to a basic grocery store. Nothing is too crazy. Compare prices. So don't look for things that are on sale. Don't have to go the organic route. Sometimes organic stuff is cheaper, so definitely keep that in mind. But best bang for your buck foods, basically the least processed you can get is going to be your best bet, because a lot of times they're sourced locally and they don't have to sell at a certain price. Whereas like if you're buying Yoplait something, it's priced. Like, sometimes like people are like, Whole Foods is so expensive, but sometimes I buy the things that are the same at Whole Foods versus the same at Bilo. So keep that in mind. Of if you're somewhere and like you're getting yogurt, try to find the cheapest yogurt that's still good for you. Go for sales. That's going to be your best option. Something similar to that, a follow-up question based on the nutrition question, or the eating on a budget question I got from last week, is how do I food prep and keep my nutrition interesting? So this is pretty common. I'm the same way. I don't really I posted a couple weeks ago. I don't really meal prep because I get so bored of what I'm eating. Like, I've eaten healthy for the past 3-ish years. For a while I was pretty good. Like, I was pretty good at meal prepping, eating the same things all the time. Now I get a little bit bored. The more bored you are, the more likely you are to going off plan. So the person who sent me this had the same problem. They're like, every time I try to eat healthy, by Wednesday I get really bored and then I want to go out to eat. And I'm totally guilty of this. I know a ton of people also are. The best thing for you is to recognize that. Doesn't have to be an inexpensive switch anyways. So for me, I'm the same way. I've gotten a little bit better because I've made my meals a little bit more interesting. But first thing to do is do 2 shopping trips if you have time, or meal prep, do your shopping trip on Sunday, get all the things you need for the week, and then make only servings, like choose recipes or half all the recipes so it only lasts you to Wednesday. And then on Wednesday, switch it up. So on Wednesday, do another meal prep day that'll last you until like Saturday. And then on Sunday, you rinse and repeat and you do the same thing. This will kind of keep you way more interested in what you're about to eat while also keeping you healthy. The next is kind of pick that one meal that you have to eat the same thing, and also that you don't mind. So for me, that's breakfast. Breakfast has got to be the same thing. My entire life growing up, I've always eaten the same thing for breakfast. It will fluctuate. When I was growing up in high school, middle school, elementary school, whatever, for lunch, I always had a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Then I found out I was allergic to peanuts, and I had to change that. But that's just a fun fact about me. So I always ate the same thing. Now it's kind of breakfast. So when I was in grad school for 2 years, I had the same exact routine and breakfast thing that I ate every single day. I mean, like down to like how long I sauteed the onions and the peppers, because I would just throw the peppers and the onions on the tray, on the pan, wash my face, come back, throw the eggs, let the eggs sit there, and then so and so on. Then I had a full breakfast. Now I don't have a lot of time to cook, and so it's a little bit weirder, but I have always like a chili or a stew or a soup, because it's a little bit calmer for me to eat. Sometimes if I wake up and I'm just stressed and I'm running around the place getting ready, I kind of need something a little bit calmer on my digestive system. So I kind of switched to doing stews and soups and stuff like that in the morning. It's also really filling, so that kind of helps me. And then I typically I kind of have the same general stuff for lunch. I fortunately do work at home, so I can make things. But for me, if I was working, I would always pack lunch. Totally pack. Don't ever go out and buy things. It's going to be really hard for you to stick to your plan if you're always buying lunch. One, you're spending a lot of money. Two, if you're having a really crappy day, you are not going to go to the cafeteria and get Freshie and not get Chick-fil-A, which are the two options that they have at MUSC. Another thing then is basically like kind of control breakfast and lunch. Kind of make those basic. You can mix it up a little bit, but the problem I find I see with a lot of people is dinners. So don't meal prep your dinners, unless you have to. So if you have to meal prep, I know a lot of people, some of my clients are like that. One of my clients literally buys her stuff like a month in advance and meal preps like everything. And like if you look in her freezer, it's like tray after tray after tray after tray. Some people aren't like that. So for me, I'm one of those people. So I have things sitting there for me to make, but I always mix up my dinners. This week I don't think I've had the same dinner the past 3 nights. So for me, it's Thursday right now as I'm filming this. Monday, I had something different than I did Tuesday and Wednesday. And then tonight, I think I might have something that I've had the rest of the week. But I'll find out when I get there. So that's the kind of thing, is like recognize what's going to keep you adherent and then adjust accordingly. So it may take a little bit of extra work. Is it worth extra work versus going off your diet plan? And then always plan on just some sort of sporadic meal to enjoy yourself, keep yourself adherent, whether it's like Friday or Saturday night. So I typically, if I'm going out to eat one night that week, so I know I've got one of my best friends from home coming in town this weekend, and so I've got that. So I know I don't even have to meal prep for Saturday because I've got Saturday taken control. I have Saturday dinner, and I enjoy myself, and then I'm ready to go throughout the week. So that's kind of my suggestion for keeping nutrition interesting is, one, recognize what is going to keep you adherent, and then do that. It may cost a little bit money at first because you may end up buying a little too much food, but it's going to be worth it if you can meal prep Sunday, Wednesday, or Sunday, Thursday. If that's going to keep you adherent Monday through Sunday, it's way worth it, worth the extra effort. It's worth maybe a little bit extra money. I mean, only like $20 or so, but it's going to help you stay adherent. Meal prep more on Sundays. So, I mean, for me, I meal prep 2 or 3 things. That lets me fluctuate between lunch and dinner or anything like that. So that's kind of my recommendation for that. If you have any other follow-up questions, definitely send me a message. I'll be happy to help you out through that. The next question is a sleep question. So I made a post last week about how much should you be sleeping. Everyone should be sleeping 7 to 9 hours. I was guilty of it in college. You're not going to work 5 hours. And there's people that be like, oh, I'm totally fine, I can do it, whatever. That may be true. You may be functioning, but have you ever functioned on 9 hours of sleep consistently? I would challenge you to just try it. I started sleeping a lot better and all my acne went away. So I was doing fine on 5 hours of sleep, but I felt pretty terrible. And now when I get less than 7, I don't even work out because I know it's just going to be a garbage day. So everyone should be sleeping 7 to 8 hours. Preferably more in that 8-hour, 9-hour range. If you have to wake up early for work, go to bed earlier at night. Easy problem there. The question I got for this, though, I just had to go on a tangent, is I wake up at 5:30 every morning to work out. Goes to bed at a decent time at night, around 10, whatever. but on the weekends want to sleep in, get that extra hour of sleep. Can I do that, or should I be consistent all the time? So in this post I made, I said you should really keep to a consistent sleep schedule. I typically do. So that, though, does not say that you have to wake up at 5:30 on the weekends. So to answer your question, no. She actually said she typically sleeps in till like 7:30 if the dogs allow that. So one, hopefully the dogs let you do that. If not, maybe nap. But yes, sleep until 7 or 7:30. If you're not getting a lot of sleep on the weekdays, or you're getting like 7 hours and you're in that healthy range, but you can maybe get like 9 hours on the weekend, definitely do. Like, I use my weekends to recharge. I wake up at 5 in the morning every single morning, unless I have to coach, in which case I wake up at 4:45. I don't let myself sleep in unless it's like a crazy stressful day. I don't let my sleep in on non-coaching days, because if I sleep until like 8, that makes my days start later. I'm usually a little bit more well rested. I don't want to go to bed early that night if I have to coach in the mornings. And so it always just like a yo-yo effect. What my post was really referencing is people that have one sleep schedule in the week, so Monday through Thursday. And then on the weekends, it's like a complete opposite. So that's what you want to avoid. So generally go to bed at the same time, generally wake up at the same time. If you go to bed at 9 on weekdays, weekends you can push that to like 11. It's totally fine. What you shouldn't do is push it to like 4 in the morning, because that's where you're going to have problems. And if you basically just do, like, say you wake up or you go to bed at 10 and you wake up at 5:30, and then on the weekends you go to bed at 4 and you wake up at 2, that's where you're going to have problems. So really try to avoid that. I know a lot of people who go out and stuff like that, it's a little bit harder. But, make sure that you're getting good sleep. And if you are going out, maybe get home at like 2 rather than 4. And then make sure on Sundays that you go to bed good and early to get ready. But I was guilty of this in college. I stopped all of that as soon as I graduated and I moved down to Charleston, and my life is astronomically better. So I would challenge you to just try it. Next question is, what are my favorite restaurants in Charleston, and what do I get at these restaurants, and how do I approach eating out? So this is a really good question. There's a lot to it. So my favorite restaurants in Charleston, Minero, Minero, is going to be my all-time favorite. I get their tacos there, so everyone knows I love tacos. I kind of vary which tacos I get. I hate vegetable themed nachos, or not nachos, tacos, because I like meat, and I think you should always have meat in all your foods. But they have a cauliflower taco that is to die for. So the cauliflower taco is always on there. They have a carne asada taco and some pork taco. I think those are the 3 I always get. Sometimes I mix it up, but that's rare. Sometimes they have a special taco. It's really good. I always get their wings, always really good. If you've never been to Minero, do that. I always get their spicy margarita. It is the best thing known to this world. So that's one of my favorite restaurants. There's some other favorite restaurants that I like going to. Taco Boy is one, mainly just because of tacos. I mean, they're not as good as Minero, but they're pretty good. There's a lot of food in Charleston. Chow Wow Biscuit is really, really good. I always get their cabbage pancake and then split some sort of meal with my friends or whoever I'm with. If I was going to have to like go out for like a nice dinner, Minero and Chow Wow, those are always good. I've been to Grace and Grit. Their food is fantastic. Fleet Landing is really good. They have the best shrimp and grits in Charleston. Pugin's Porch is actually one of my all-time favorite restaurants. They changed up their menu like 2 years ago, and they now do, I don't know if it's 2 years ago. It may be. I went there 2 years ago, and that's when it was new. So I say that they changed 2 years ago. They have like a modern meal, like a modern portion on their menu, and then they have a traditional portion on their menu. So you can get like traditional Southern dishes like catfish, shrimp and grits, pork, whatever. Or you can get like a little bit modern type stuff. So last time I went, I think I got like short ribs, and it was so good. So those are kind of like my bougie restaurants that I like to go to, that are always really good. I know I'm gonna like be stuffed when I leave. Then there's kind of my like go-to restaurants that are kind of where I like to go if I want to go out to eat, but I don't want to kill my diet plan. So I rarely go to like Minero, Pugin's Porch, Taco Boy. I really go to all those places. If I need to go out to eat, I always go somewhere where I know where I'm going ahead of time so I can look up the menu. That is like the number one approach, is always look up where you're going. Going to save you every single time in the long run. And then I plan when I eat before I go. That's also very, very important. And then when you do go out to eat, the key is that you always get a protein, carb, and a veggie. Preferably, if you're going to have to prioritize, really make sure that there is a protein in there and then there is a vegetable in there. That's going to be number one approach to eating out. Protein is going to keep you full. It's going to help you fill you up so you don't splurge on other things. So when I have my plate, I typically eat, well, I know that I will eat everything that's on the plate. So I always like prioritize how I'm going to eat so I can have like the best bite that's last. So it kind of depends. The strategy that they typically teach you in nutrition is you want to eat your protein first, because that's what's going to fill you up, and then you want to eat your vegetables and your protein kind of at the same time, and then until you get full, you kind of eat whatever carb that is on the plate. Some of my favorite restaurants to go to that doesn't let me fall off my plan in Charleston and kind of anywhere in the world is going to be like a barbecue place. Surprisingly, you can eat very healthy at a barbecue place. Yes, their meat has a little bit more fat, but that you can always get like collard greens. You can get like baked beans, which are, a decent carb source. They have like, I'm trying to think. There's like a corn pudding at one of the favorite of the Lewis barbecue. So I always get their collard greens, corn pudding, and pulled pork or brisket. If you do get brisket, just ask for a leaner cut on there. It's less fatty. It's going to be a little bit better for you. If you do like not eating pork or brisket, you can get like turkey or chicken from any of these places. They're really good for you. They're a little bit better than like pork or brisket. But if you like it, get it when you go out. It's really always a good way to go. Home Team is one of my favorite barbecue places in Charleston. That and Swig and Swine. I always get pulled pork at those places. Collard greens are some of my favorite. And then I always get grits at Home Team. And then at Swig and Swine, they have a corn pudding. That is so good. They also have Brussels sprouts. So you can always find options when you go out. Another place, like if you go to Chipotle, so that's kind of a little bit more applicable. So every time you go to Chipotle, you're always in to match your nutrition plan. Get a bowl, so don't worry about the fried stuff, the fried tortillas, the shell, anything like that. Always go for a bowl. A burrito is fine. I just don't eat it, so I always get a bowl. And I always get the rice. If you're going out to eat, typically, if you read one of my most recent posts or you're subscribed to my newsletters, if you're not, go to my website and do so now, because I send out really, really valuable information, like a 10-step guide to going out to eat. In that, I told everyone to eat 2 meals that day, always exercise. So have a good hearty breakfast and a lunch. It's got to be full of protein and vegetables, because that's the reason I tell you to have vegetables and protein, is because that's usually what isn't in a large amount of when you go out to eat. Like when you go out to eat, one of my favorite places is Minero. Other than my cauliflower taco, there's not a huge ton of vegetables that exist in my 3 tacos that I get and in my wings that I get. So when I eat vegetables early on for breakfast and for lunch, I kind of cover those bases. That lets me go out to eat and not have to really worry if am I getting my 4 to 6 vegetables in per day. So you want to have that approach when you're going out. Really plan the first part of your day. Don't track. So do not go out and like think, okay, so I'm at Minero. First, are they on MyFitnessPal? So don't even worry about that. Just enjoy yourself is the first thing. But make sure you're getting protein and stuff before you go. Eat a snack, so don't go completely ravenous or hungry. But it's kind of going back to going to Chipotle. So if you're at Chipotle or Qdoba or Moe's, always get a bowl. get rice on there, get protein. If you are eating out and you're only eating like 3 meals a day, get double protein on there. One, it's going to fill you up. You can get a little bit less rice if you want. But then you're also going to make sure you're hitting that protein goal, and you can guarantee there's a ton in there. Also, a secret to Chipotle that I learned like 10 years ago is if you want just the usual amount of protein, get half like chicken or half steak or half 2 proteins. You only get charged for 1. So that's a really cool fun fact. You can get 2 meats, mix it up a little bit, but you only get charged for 1. Always add the fajita vegetables because that's getting vegetables in there for you. And then go for the like pico or any other sort of salsa. You can get the corn, it's totally fine. It's just gonna have a little bit more carbs for you. So if you want the healthiest option when you go to Chipotle, do like half the rice, double the protein, back off the corn, get the tomato, pico salsa, and then guac and lettuce. If you love cheese, like I do, get the cheese. Always gonna be really good for you. But if you want to be healthier, don't get the cheese. I'm pretty sure that's kind of all I had to say about going out to eat. Basically, planning ahead is going to be the best. Get basic meals. Make sure there's protein, carb, and a fat for you. Also, if you monitor your nutrition, so I do have clients where we have to be a little bit more strict when they do go out. A lot of times people are eating out for work, or they travel all the time and they have to be a little bit more strict. I rarely ever go out to eat. So in my case, when I go out to eat, I kind of want to just enjoy it. If I eat strict, like 365 days a year, and then you give me Christmas, my birthday, Thanksgiving, maybe, no, I don't even think I eat poorly on Easter. Not even on 4th of July. Give me 4th of July. I don't know. 4 days, 61 days out of 365. That's like almost 100% success rate in terms of my nutrition. Those 4 days are not going to kill me. Like add in like every once in a while going out to eat, like going to Pugin's Porch or going to that favorite restaurant that you love going to. You know, if you do want to stay strict, definitely do that. But if you rarely ever go out to eat, just let yourself enjoy it. It's going to be fine. You're not going to kill yourself. It's kind of my approach to that. When I go out for lunch, I always get like a good, I always choose places that have like a bowl option or some sort of big healthy salad. Mercantile and Mash down here has an amazing squash salad, and I always throw chicken or salmon on that. It's got like dates, squash, bacon. It's really, really, really good, and it's filling. So don't just get a salad when you go out because it's not filling, and you're gonna feel like crap afterwards. The next, I always go to Huriali, get their acai bowls or one of their like Mexican bowls. Basically, I'm looking into protein and vegetables in there. So when I go out for lunch, that's kind of what I do there. And then always plan ahead. That's going to be like your best bet. Choose places that you know you can trust or get good options. I always have kind of my go-to places. I always love getting burgers when I go out. If you get a burger, get the bun off of it and then get a side as vegetables. Sweet potato options, so sweet potato fries, yes, they're fried, but they're better than like regular potatoes, and they taste really good. Those are kind of my go-to tricks at places. Lunches, always just go for some sort of vegetable-y dish. It's a little bit easier to do. But that's basically it. I have one more question, but it's a long-winded answer, and it's a really complex question. It's already been 30 minutes, so I'm not going to answer it. I will save it until next week. If you have any other follow-up questions, definitely send me a message. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube videos so when I do post them, you have immediate access to them. Sign up for my newsletters. If you do like these Q&As and you think they're helping you, definitely tell your friends, share on Instagram or anything like that. I definitely appreciate it and would love to get my business out to random people all over the world. So I can't really do that without your help. So definitely do that. I'll leave you with one more answer. So last week I answered what is the weird thing that is not, or an interesting thing that is not nutrition or fitness related about me. Told you that I milked mice. I got a couple comments about that. So I'm going to kind of keep with that theme until I run out of things to talk about myself. But I've done some weird things, so hopefully I have a lot to tell you about. For the past 2 years, but from 2 years while I was in grad school, not only did I milk mice, I also worked in a morgue as an autopsy assistant. So I was able to assist on autopsies. I was scribing them, helping with getting the bodies ready to have an autopsy, helping with some of the homicide cases, evidence collection, everything like that. It's really cool learning experience. I learned a ton, and I saw some crazy things that I can't talk about because of HIPAA and also like investigations that are like statewide like stuff. But it was really cool, crazy cases and some weird topics. Everyone who worked at the MEOC morgue was really, really cool. Really nice, and I always had kind of a blast. I did it on the weekends, sometimes on weekdays, but if I had time, but usually I was working in the lab, so I wasn't milking mice, so I really didn't have a lot of time to do it. But yeah, if you have any questions, definitely send them to me. I'm excited to answer them, and I will talk to you guys next week.